Hello, thank you for joining me again today for another wonderful day of distance learning. My name is Trina Bruneau and I'm the ELA Curriculum Specialist with Gulfport School District. Today we are going to continue our work with words. So we will use word learning strategies to help us understand the meaning of words in text. We will apply these new strategies to help us better understand the text, and then we will also find great fun ways that we can interact with our new words. Today we are going to continue with graphic organizers as our word learning strategy. So grab your vocabulary log and a pencil or some markers, whichever you prefer to use, and get ready. Notice today we'll use the graphic organizer where we will place our new word in the center, and then we'll draw 4 bubbles out from the center circle. Take a close look at the pictures on your screen. So here we have a picture of a Gulfport police officer and a scientist in a lab. You and I have something really close in common with these people, and they have a lot in common with each other. Can you guess what it is? Yeah, we need evidence to prove things. So the police officer looks for evidence when he's trying to solve a mystery or a crime. And the scientist looks for evidence as she reviews her notes and tries to prove a theory correct or incorrect. And you and I use evidence as we are reading detectives. Our word for the day is evidence, brought to you by the Barksdale Reading Institute and Gulfport School District. Let's say the word together 3 times. Let me say it one more time for you. Evidence. Now you say evidence with me 3 times. Ready, set, and go. Evidence, evidence, evidence. Good job. Now, write the word evidence in your vocabulary log. Say the letters aloud as you write. I'll say it with you. Ready? And go. Evidence. E-V-I-D-E-N-C-E. Evidence. Good job. Let's take a look at the denotation or dictionary definition for the word evidence. Evidence is proof that something exists or happened or is true. The word evidence is a noun. In your vocabulary log, if you are following along, you can also draw your Freyer model and jot down this definition in your own words to help you remember the meaning for the word evidence. Also, you can draw some pictures, and that'll really help you remember the word as well. Let's use the word evidence in sentences. I have a couple of sentences for us to read aloud together. So please read these sentences with me. You ready? Loud and proud. First sentence. Here we go. There is evidence that the earth is round. Good. So here the word evidence reminds us that there is proof that it is true that the earth is round. Let's read the second sentence together. Ready? And go. Madison showed evidence of her math abilities at an early age. So in this sentence, we can see that Madison showed proof that she has abilities in math, just like you. Take a look at these pictures. Could these things be used to find evidence? What do you think? Yes or no? The first one is a camera. Can we use a camera to find evidence or proof that something exists? Yeah, sure we can. We can take pictures and then provide that evidence or proof to others. What about the next picture? Boxing gloves. Can we use boxing gloves to find evidence? No, that's not going to help us collect evidence. How about a magnifying glass? Could that help us find evidence? Absolutely. And finally, what about a pencil sharpener? Can that help us find evidence? No, pencil sharpeners can't help us find proof. Let's use our graphic organizer to help us work with the word evidence more closely. In the middle circle of your graphic organizer, write the word evidence. We're going to think of several jobs that people do where they need to find evidence. I have one here for us to think about together. The first example is a news reporter. So as news reporters gather details for the stories they'll report to us, they need evidence to show that their stories are true. We also took a look at a couple of pictures of people who use evidence. Do you remember who those people were? If so, you can write them in your graphic organizer. My friends in pre-K through second grade, there is a really fun book you can use to explore the word evidence. The Deductive Detective by Brian Rock is a great story where you can take a look at how this duck finds evidence to find answers to his questions. You can hear read aloud on YouTube, but remember you need your parent or guardian to help you find this website. I have a few questions here for you to think about as you listen to the story. My third through fifth grade friends, we're going to read a passage together. It's an article called A Courtroom in the Classroom, and this is from a website called ReadWorks. If you're not in third through fifth grade, please stay with me. I think you'll enjoy this passage as we explore the word evidence. So before we get started, we want to do a couple of things, beginning with thinking about our pre-reading strategies. The pictures that's on your screen is a little bit hard to see, so in just a second, I'll show you a better picture where you can see it closer. Remember, as good readers, it's really important that we activate our prior knowledge and make connections to what we already know to help us better understand the text. For our during reading strategy, we need to establish our purpose for reading. So I have a couple of questions for us to think about. The first question, what does the author describe in this passage? So you want to look for the description in the passage to help you answer this question. Secondly, describe how evidence is used in a criminal trial. All right, so let's get ready to read. Remember, for our pre-reading strategy, we need to tap our prior knowledge. So take a look really closely at this picture. What do you notice? It's a courtroom. Have you ever been in a courtroom? Have you read a story that took place in a courtroom? Remember, the place the story happens? That's called the setting, right? Take a look at the American flag in the back of the room. We're all familiar with that because we say the Pledge of Allegiance every day, don't we? Good. So thinking about what we already know and making those connections will really help us get ready to read. So here we go. A courtroom in the classroom. Last week, Miss Blake taught her third grade class about laws in the United States and what happens when people are accused of breaking those laws or committing crimes. For example, one law says that people cannot steal from others. If a person is accused of stealing, the accused person may enter a criminal trial. This is when people determine if the accused person is guilty or not guilty based on evidence. Let's pause here just for a second. So if someone has been accused of stealing, so in other words, somebody said that somebody else has stolen something, right? We have to have evidence or proof that that person in fact stole something. So in this first paragraph, that's how the word evidence is used. Let's take a look at the second paragraph. Ready? Here we go. Trials take place in courtrooms, and Miss Blake wanted to show her third grade class what it's like inside a courtroom of the United States, so she decided to stage a role play of a criminal trial. There are many different people in the courtroom during a criminal trial. All of them have different but important jobs or roles. Miss Blake put her students' names inside a hat. Next to the hat, she had a list of the different people who participate in a trial. As she went down the list of courtroom jobs, she picked a student's name out of the hat. She then assigned the student to act out that role in the class role play. Miss Blake thought it would be fun, and it was. First on the list was the judge. Miss Blake chose Matthew Schwartz to play the judge. The judge sits high above everyone else in the front of the courtroom. He or she decides what is fair or unfair in the trial. He or she must try hard not to form an opinion on whether a person is guilty of a crime or not. Many people think the judge decides who is guilty or not, but that is not always true. In some cases, called bench trials, the judge decides the outcome of the trial. In other cases, jury trials, a jury decides the outcome of the trial. The jury is a group of up to 12 citizens. In the United States, people are asked at random to be a part of the jury in a trial. They listen to evidence that is brought up. In a criminal trial, this evidence can suggest the person accused of a crime is either guilty or innocent. The jury has to listen to all of it. Then, all of the people on the jury vote on whether or not the person is guilty. The trial does not end until enough of the jury members agree on whether or not the person is guilty. Miss Blake chose 12 boys and 12 girls to play the jury, and all of them were excited to listen to the evidence from the two lawyers. Let's pause here just for a second before we continue reading. So on this page, we see two paragraphs. The second paragraph, I wonder why the author included the second paragraph in this passage. Take a close look at the first sentence of the second paragraph. It says, the jury is a group of up to 12 citizens. That whole paragraph helps me understand what a jury is. So I think that second paragraph plays a role, a very important role in this passage to help me understand what a jury is so that I can understand what 12 of Miss Blake's students did in the classroom courtroom. Let's keep reading. A lawyer's job is to use evidence to convince the jury that his or her version of what happened is right. In a criminal trial, one lawyer wants to show that a person is guilty of a crime. That lawyer is the prosecutor. The other lawyer, the defense lawyer, hopes to prove that the person is not guilty. Christina Slick became the prosecutor, and Jeffrey Gecko was chosen as the defense lawyer in Miss Blake's class role play. In the courtroom, there's also a bailiff and a court reporter. The bailiff stands close to the judge. His or her job is to make sure that there is order in the court. Miss Blake thought that Jake Foster would be a great bailiff, and luckily picked his name out of the hat for that job. The court reporter writes out everything being said during the trial. This is important in case someone wants his statement repeated later on. Miss Blake chose Daisy Frank for that job. The last person Miss Blake needed to choose was someone to play the defendant. The defendant is the person accused of doing some crime. The defendant might not have actually committed the crime, however. The jury will decide whether the defendant committed the crime at the end of the trial, after the lawyers have shown all of their evidence to the court. Miss Blake chose Charlie Samuels to pretend to be the defendant, but reminded the class that Charlie was only going to act like a bad boy who was accused of stealing a hot dog at lunch. Now that all of the roles had been chosen, the courtroom role play could begin. I hope you enjoyed this story of the classroom courtroom. Maybe you've participated in a classroom courtroom before. Let's take a look back at some of the questions we were thinking about as we read. The first question, what does the author describe in this passage? Yeah, the author described Miss Blake's classroom courtroom and how she chose the students to complete the roles and what roles needed to be filled, right? But we also learned something really important. The author also described how a court trial runs and the people involved in that court trial, right? Also, how evidence is super important. Speaking of, take a look at question 2. Describe how evidence is used in a criminal trial. So, evidence or proof that a crime was committed by a person has to be submitted to the court by the lawyers and then considered by the jury and the judge, right? Evidence. Remember, that's proof that something happened or exists. Let's take a look at some ways that you could enjoy the word evidence this week. First of all, for reading, there are great mystery stories out there that you can read that evidence plays a really important role in the overall plot of the story. If you enjoy writing, why not write a funny story to entertain your readers about a time when you were a detective and were looking for evidence to solve a mystery? That can be a lot of fun. And then finally, speaking and listening. Watch an episode of Scooby-Doo with your family. While watching, pause Scooby-Doo and discuss the evidence that's being used to solve the mystery. You can find episodes of Scooby-Doo on YouTube, of course with your parents' help. And last but not least, for even more fun with the word evidence, try playing some board games. Can you play them and use the word evidence while you do? Here are some great games where evidence is super important. The first one is Clue. Next, Guess Who. The next one, We Detectives. And a fourth suggestion for you is Scavenger Hunt. There are other games out there that are super fun that you can play with your family where evidence comes into play. I hope you enjoyed our word of the day today. Thank you for allowing me to join you for another great day of distance learning. Until next time.